actually affected some of your lives in a good and positive way. Some say the only relationship I had with my dad was watching you, or with my mom, my grandfather, whatever. Some husbands and wives. There was somebody in that today who said, "Yep, you brought us together. We got married because of you." So, yep, right there they are.
Since we are in DC, I gotta go back to Starrcade '97, that big match. Just everything that led up to it. Kind of, what were your emotions, what were your feelings walking into DC for that match against Hollywood Hogan?
Well, highly anticipated for sure. Big build up, and one of the lessons that I learned through that as far as wrestling goes is less is more, and less was definitely more during that whole period of time. But walking into that night was rough for me, to be quite honest with you, because I had a lot of personal stuff going on in my life that whole year leading up to it, and so, man, it was hard for me to walk through the curtains on some of those nights. But thankfully the curtain opens and the light switch turns on, and you do your thing.
Leading up to that, obviously, you went through one of the most dramatic character changes we've ever really seen in wrestling. When you were first pitched that idea, when it first, kind of came up to you, what was your reaction to it?
Well, it was already happening to me. I knew that my character needed to change. You guys remember the NWO video, Hall and Nash, the real grainy looking black and white, real edgy video that they did, and that was the very beginning. I was, Hulk was starting to get booed out of buildings, the whole red and yellow, kill a fellow, and whatever else, protect your islands, the neon stain, it was all starting to change, and you fans, you guys wanted to see something else, and so I knew that I was going to have to change my character, and we were one time in Casper, Wyoming, and Eric Bischoff, we were in some hotel somewhere, and Eric and Scott Hall were just finishing their meal as I walked in, and we were talking about my whole deal, character change. I said, I got to figure out something, and that's when Scott Hall is the one. I always give him the credit, but he's the one who said, you should wear a black trench coat, and paint your eyes black and your face white, and the rest is history.
Just being around and being such a prominent figure at that time, which, went through one of the biggest changes in wrestling, did you feel like you almost needed to play catch up, or how hard was it to deal with that?
It was hard because of the personal stuff that was going on in my life, but also to actually change, my character. It could very well have been a shockmaster moment. I'll never forget, painting my face all white and black and putting the trench coat on. Now my hair is dark and I'm up in the rafters for the first time. I had no idea how you fans would react to it. So it was a risk to take, but I'm glad that I took it. It worked.
And then obviously everything happened, and with WCW, you decide not to, with the rest of the NWO, with most of the WCW stars, you decide not to go right to WWE. Was there a reason for that at the time?
Yeah, I always thought that Vince wanted me up there more to undermine WCW than he wanted me as a talent. Long story short.
So I guess, obviously you did end up eventually going there. What changed your mind on that? What changed your mindset? And do you still think that was the right decision?
No, I can't look back and say that I blew my career, that's for sure. So I'm okay with everything ended. I have bragging rights to say that my last match was against Seth for the WWE World Title and Night of Champions. So that was a great night. What was the first part of the question?
I mean, I guess, do you have even the slightest regret that you worked for a while with the guy who never went to WWE?
Right. And why, I think that the question was why did it suddenly happen? I mean, it didn't happen all those years, and then it ultimately ended up. Well, it was because, TNA had come to an end. I had run my course there, and, the way WCW ended before that even was not good. Felt like wrestling was over, and I just kind of disappeared with my tail between my legs, and then the TNA thing, and then TNA ended, and it's like something's missing, and everybody wants to be able to say that they did WrestleMania or they did something with WWE, I've never met any wrestler who didn't want that to happen. And although I was one for quite a few years, I thought it's either now or never. So I put out my feelers and sent a message to Triple H and Vince, and they got back with me and said, no, they had not turned the page on me yet. So,
you know, obviously you had that title match with Seth, and then you were injured there, which effectively ended your career. Were there any plans for anything for WrestleMania, or was there anything you really wanted to do at the time that you wanted to pitch in for them at WrestleMania?
I think everybody knows the answer to this. You know, everything that I did was a one-off with WWE, but I was always outspoken about wanting to wrestle Taker, and you know, that's when I was
Yeah, I know everyone here would have loved to see that one, right?
Yeah.
You know, I guess kind of going back a little bit, you talked about how everybody here, they come up to you, they say how important to you. What do you think it is about, whether it's your character, how you perform, what is it that makes it resonate to this day, and then probably will for decades to come?
I don't know. I've had so many fans say, there's something about your eyes. Just looking into your eyes, you know? Because I didn't speak for a long time, and it was just all you could look at was my eyes. That was the only thing telling any kind of a story. But it's just, you know, it's like Vince McMahon, I guess, was quoted as saying, yeah, I like the idea of having Sting up here. We've never had a vigilante, you know? And so I guess the vigilante aspect of it, and then nostalgia, you know, you wrestling fans don't want to say goodbye to a lot of the wrestlers I've noticed, and especially the older characters. And you know, my original Surfer Sting, people still say, do you think you could ever do that again? Like, no, I can't pull that one off. But it's the nostalgia they don't want to let go of. It's the vigilante aspect. It's the relationship that they had with their uncle, their brother, their mom, their dad. You know, brought families together. They practiced wrestling moves on each other, so it was a relational thing. It caused a bonding to happen in families. Wrestling, of all things, and so I think this is just all part of a pie that makes that happen.
You know, obviously your career has spanned, and whenever you think about matches, you think about Ric Flair, obviously, and I feel like if anyone asked, you know, what's your favorite Sting match, most people would immediately say Flair. But for you, was there any match that maybe doesn't get as much love that you really, really love that you had?
You know, I had great matches against Rick Rude. I loved working against Rick. Probably the only absolute true bona fide heel that I ever worked with. I had great matches with Muta and Vader. Yeah. I will say that a lot of you fans talk about the matches with Vader, not so much Muta anymore. So those were some of the big ones for me.
All right, I think I'm going to open it up to questions. So we have 2 microphones here if you want to line up, and we'll just kind of go back and forth here. All right, we'll start with Robin here.
Okay, that's Robin. So my friend is doing his own wrestling show, part of this group called Renaissance Rumble. Their tagline is "They put the bar to no holds barred," and he's working on building up his character. What advice would you have for him for creating a persona, like creating something from the ground up?
You know, I always tell people to keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and learn and take from whoever you can take from. And that's what I did. I mean, everybody does that, but you know, there are some that just can't keep their mouth shut. You know, and if you do that, you learn respect. And you know, I think first you have to have a good foundation of respect for the business, and then you can take off.
Right over here.
Hello there. Just want to say before I ask the question, Starrcade 97 was the very first pay-per-view I watched as a kid, like all the way through. So
Great start.
yeah. Weird finish. But considering that, like, your entrance, especially with the little monologue that starts with "When a man's heart is full of deceit," like, it's one of the greatest entrances of all time, in my opinion. Other than that entrance, was there any other event like when you came out that you felt that same type of electricity from?
No, I think it's just set apart. It's an easy answer, really. I mean, man called Sting. You know, no, that doesn't work.
Thank you very much.
All right, over here.
Hi, yes. So back when you were in Impact Wrestling, you had the Joker Sting gimmick. How did that come about?
Once again, just needed a change, needed to do something different, and you know, it was another risk, just another time that I took a risk. But I will say, the Crow character, I had so much fun, you know, doing that character. I mean, it brought the Sting character up to a level that, you know, was pretty incredible. But the Joker Sting, I had more fun doing that character. And if you guys, if we had more cameras where you could see, you know, one shooting this way, one shooting my reaction, Hulk's reaction, and you know, Kurt Angle's reaction, whoever was in there. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough cameras. So you guys missed a lot of good stuff. But here in the United States, for whatever reason, that Joker character was hit and miss. But in Europe, all over Europe, they just loved it over there. And I had more fun doing that because that character of all the different characters that I played was more of an extension of my true me than any other. So it was a lot of fun.
One last question. Do you have any Hall and Nash stories that we can share, like off camera?
I've already told, so the only ones I can really tell you've already heard. You know, it's like Kevin Nash and me, you know, in the middle of the ring. You know the story, right? Yeah. So you don't want to hear that one again. Yeah, no, I mean, other than just Scott, you know, he has I mean, what an incredible mind, creative mind, very innovative mind for the business. And Kevin Nash, just one of the funniest guys in the business to me. Kevin makes me laugh every time I see him. He can make me laugh in a text.
Thank you.
All right, over here.
Hi, Steve. I live about 3 blocks away from Royal Farms Arena, formerly Baltimore Arena. Probably one of the biggest matches of your entire career. Could you tell us all what that was like and maybe why you chose that night to put the red, white, and blue on?
Well, it was the Great American Bash. It was July, right around the 4th of July, you know, when we claimed our independence as a country, and so I chose to be patriotic during that month of July, the Great American Bash. And what was it like for me? I had gone through a knee surgery. I blew my knee out really bad February of that year. That was 1990, and needed a good 7 months to get back. And I took five months to get back. So I was, man, still pretty raw on the inside of that knee, and I had to baby my knee the whole match. But I trusted Rick, and you know, I knew that, you know, trying to keep your head above water and stay in the game another 2 months, it's maybe going to be too long. So I fought to get back as soon as I could. And you know, Great American Bash, Baltimore Arena, one of the greatest places for me to wrestle, one of the greater cities. I always loved going to Baltimore. For whatever reason, the crowd always loved my character in Baltimore. And what a great night that was, you know, to win the title from Rick the very first time.
Thank you, Sting.
Thanks.
Hey Sting, you've been in some of the most iconic rivalries and matches of all time, pun intended. And I was just wondering if you could reflect on some of the weirdest matches, weirdest rivalries that you've had in your long storied career. Specifically maybe Vampiro and Abyss.
Yeah, Vampiro, it's just one of those things that just, I mean, I thought that I could make anything work, you know, with any storyline with anyone.
As a kid, I was a big fan of the Union Sports match.
I just couldn't make that thing click. I just could not figure out a way. And I was giving him permission to step over the line and do things that I wouldn't allow anyone else to do over the years. But I told him, I said, you know, call me by my real name. You know, see if that'll get through. See if it'll work. See if it'll create something. You know, it just did nothing. There was no chemistry there whatsoever. I mean, nothing. It was just a bomb of all bombs. And Abyss, I I loved working with Abyss. I mean, the casket match and some of the stuff I did with him. I mean, I still see him. I see him 3-4 times a year. I just saw him at WrestleMania. He's working with them now and doing a good job for him. But man, I love those matches with him. And every time he sees me, Sting, the best matches I ever had were against you. Wow, that's a big compliment.
Thank you.
Alright, so you talked a couple times about reinventing yourself throughout your career, but ever since becoming a pro character, you've limited your wardrobe to just black, white, and you basically changed the amounts of red. Have you ever thought about maybe putting extra colors back here, or why you did put extra colors in, or change the highlight colors around sometimes?
Yeah, the only thing I did to add colors was on my face, you know, and I did that a little bit. I started to mix it up, especially with the Joker character. You know, probably something I could have done, but I just never thought of it. Never. I mean, unless I'm going to go back to the Surfer Sting, it's like, why?
Right here.
Hey, so I think my favorite promo of all time was your first Wolfpack promo, where you come out and you're just really trash talking the Giant. So I was just curious, all throughout, you know, WCW, TNA, who was your favorite person that you felt you could like have chemistry to cut promos on them with and just trash talking?
Well, during those days, especially, I was not known for my promo. I did not have good mic skills at all, so I just dreaded every moment of it. It wasn't until I got to TNA that I learned to finally do an interview, and I'm proud of what I did there too. But who? I mean, man, because the interview situation, the mic situation was so bad. Like I said, I think I've erased a lot of it from my memory. So yeah, I don't even remember trash talking the Giant, but I'm sure I did. And thankfully, it was good.
All right, thanks. Over here.
Okay, actually, I'm sure you got this question before, but during the match, the incident you get with Seth Rollins when you got injured, forced you to retire, if it weren't for the injury, do you think you would have proceeded and might have been WWE champion? And even if it's for a short run?
No. No, the only thing that I would have really tried to pursue, like I said earlier, is that Taker match, you know, at WrestleMania, nowhere else.
You guys beat me to that question when I got here. So I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Over here.
So my favorite matches of yours were against Cactus in the early 90s. Could you talk a little bit about that series of matches in wrestling game?
Cactus was a fun guy to work with. He was a great personality, you know, outside of the ring as well. But boy, talk about somebody who sacrificed his body. I mean, I have stories about him in Germany against Vader. I have stories about him at Center Stage in Atlanta with me, and some of the things that he did, and hearing the sound of his body and his flesh hitting the pavement from, I don't know how many feet. I mean, just ridiculous. I was in Germany, by the way, when he wrestled Vader, and you could see him wrestling, and you could see the end of the match. You could see blood coming off the side of Mick's head, and he thought, oh, he got busted open somehow, no big deal. But next thing you know, Gary Capetta, the ring announcer, comes walking in the dressing room with half of an ear, 3/4 of an ear in his hand. Sting, I have an ear. And I went, yep, that's an ear. It was Cactus Jack's. He came back in the dressing room and said something like, bang, bang. And that was it. I think he wanted to have that thing preserved somehow in some kind of liquid, that they wouldn't let him do it. But I had a lot of fun working with Cactus. I loved his creativity, his willingness to just try stuff and do something different, step out of the box.
Over here.
I love the Joker gimmick. I love it when he was in Main Event Mafia. I was watching all the time. I love those. Everybody. Yeah. Main Event Mafia. Yeah, anyway, I want you to talk about the Escape with the Shockmaster.
You want me to talk about it? You know what? I need to pull that up again. I need to watch that on YouTube. I mean, it's one of those things you're live and it's happening and you think, okay, this is a dream. This is not happening. It really happened. Yeah, it was shocking.
Do you remember just what your first thoughts were when it happened?
I mean, I had a level of compassion for him for sure. It's like, man, you know, I had a moment, you know, one time doing a TV taping. I think we were in Macon, Georgia, or somewhere like that, with Dusty Rhodes was still booking and writing and stuff. We had to do these entrances, and you know, they had this tunnel for the first time, and you know, this fog and this stuff coming out of it, and laser lights and music. And I walked through the tunnel, and you know, the fans, I'm high-fiving everybody as I walk through. I'm not quite through to the barricade, and this barricade had, through the gate where you walk through, had a little bar that was horizontal, the width of the opening. And right as I walked over that thing, this one fan said, "Sting, you suck!" Like that. You know, wow, it was like right in my ear, and my foot caught that thing, and I tripped, went down to the ground. And Jackie Crockett, you know, the guy at the camera, he was Jimmy Crockett's brother. He took the camera like this and followed me all the way down to the ground. I said, "Jackie, get the camera off of me." Anyway, referee's got the thing in his ear, and he's going, "Oh, okay." He comes over and he goes, "Sting, they want you to redo the entrance." So I had to go back, play the music, do the fog, do the laser lights, do the whole thing, and walk back into the ring. Talk about an embarrassing moment. I can't imagine being Shockmaster. That just tops everything.
All right, over here.
Hi, sir. I just wanted to know, through all the years of wrestling and all the changes that you went through in the ring that we as fans saw, what was it like having to switch back and forth into so many characters, to be Mr. Borden for so long, and then to switch to whatever Sting character you happen to be doing, and then back out again for so many years?
Well, I don't remember too much having to go from Steve Borden to Sting. Unless I'm missing something.
No, I mean just like going from the person to the persona.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah. You're saying to turn the light switch on and to walk through the curtain versus, you know, being in my street clothes and being a normal human being. Yeah. That was a tough thing, especially, you know, during the Crow years for me, especially going through all the stuff that I was going through personally. And I watched a lot of guys suffer with it because they could not function unless they were their character almost 24 hours a day. And thankfully for me, I mean, when wrestling was done, my wrestling hat was off, pretty much. You know, when I was home with my kids, you know, I wanted to raise my two sons, and then my daughter, you know, I wanted to be really, really involved in their lives. And I'm not saying I completely checked out of wrestling. I was still thinking about it, trying to figure out a way to be creative and come up with a new storyline or the new this or that. But for the most part, I was able to take the Sting hat off and leave it off.
Thank you, sir.
Right over here.
Hi, Sting. I just want to say the first impressive thing I've ever saw you did is when you picked up Big Van Vader for the Samoan drop. I think your knees were buckling the whole time trying to carry it, and you actually got him over it. Me being a little kid, I was just like, how did you do that? But I was always wondering,
only because he allowed me to do it.
I always wondered, what hurt worse, in your career, was it the knee injury or when, Kenji Budo, aka the Great Budo, always, you were beating him, but then he sprayed you in the face with the green mist?
So what was the question?
What hurt worse, when you got hurt or when Great Budo sprayed you in the face with the green mist?
Well, the green mist was green food coloring, so that didn't hurt at all. When I blew my knee out, that hurt. Yeah, they had to totally reconstruct my knee in 1990 on that one, so that one was a bad one.
All right, over here.
Sting, I would like to thank you for being a great example on camera and off camera. I never had to worry about you, hearing about your name in the news, or negative things, or
being locked up or anything, and as a person who watched wrestling through the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of people doing a lot of crazy stuff. But beyond that, I would like to just ask, who is your greatest tag team partner and why?
Warrior. I had a really good match with Lex against the Steiner brothers in the early 90s, and I think we got tag match of the year, I think, for that match. So that one was a good one. And I didn't tag with a lot of people, so the most tag matches I ever had with any one person would be Rick Steiner, and we were just kind of the curtain jerker kind of guys there for those years. So probably Lex.
I remember '96 run with you and Lex, and that was pretty good because it's like they didn't want to put you in certain spots, but you guys really did really well. And I think it was Clash of Champions versus you and Steinberg.
That was in Tampa, yeah.
How you doing, Sting? Good to see you. We'll take it back a little bit. What was it like to work with Jim Hellwig, Warrior, when you were in the Blade Runners?
Very intense. He was a very intense guy. Actually, we both were. We were both young and both on steroids and just as wound up as any two young men to be. He was 285 pounds. I was a monster 260, but I looked like a little kid compared to him. It just very intense. But I'll never forget leaving California. He was from Georgia. I got him to come to California to go through a wrestling camp, and we got in the car, my 1983 T-Bird, to start our wrestling career, and we drove. He kept talking about, wanting to go to a Waffle House, which I'd never heard of a Waffle House. I didn't know what they were. He was talking about scattered, covered, and smothered, and what the heck is scattered, covered? He was talking about honey buns and all this kind of stuff. We finally got to a Waffle House, and he got the same thing every time. He'd get 2 pecan waffles, 4 eggs over easy, with the scattered, covered, and smothered over the top of that, and 2 chicken breasts on the side, and he'd smother all of it with his own smothering of syrup. And he was always hungry right after he finished.
Thank you.
Besides yourself, who is your favorite wrestler?
I don't know if I ever had a favorite wrestler of all time. I had wrestlers that I liked for different reasons. For example, Macho Man, I liked him in the beginning because his character was so over the top. And when I started in wrestling, you still had characters. There wasn't, a bunch of gray, there was more black and white. You had baby faces and heels, good guys and bad guys, and then you had some over-the-top characters. I mean, George the Animal Steel, really? And then Macho Man, when he's talking and he's doing this with his hand at the same time, and he won't let you see his teeth. What was that all about? But I was captivated by him, glasses and the neon colors and everything else, so I appreciated his personality and his work ethic. He had a great work ethic. Dusty Rhodes, his charisma. I mean, I had times, on the road with Dusty Rhodes, I saw charisma come out of that guy like I've never seen out of anybody. This guy had charisma like I've never seen before. He's probably the top. If you guys could have seen him in those moments, you would agree, I'm sure. Hulk Hogan, just to be, so great, immortal, and to affect the whole world, and to go beyond pro wrestling, and to do movies and everything that he did. I mean, there's so many great guys. Ric Flair, I mean, I can just go on and on. So I appreciated so many different things about so many different guys. There wasn't any one that just takes the cake for me.
If you could wrestle one newer generation superstar, who would that be?
Because Bray Wyatt has a personality, I think, I like the whole Bray Wyatt thing. That would have been pretty interesting. I know Shawn Michaels isn't one of the younger ones, but I would love to have had a match with Shawn as well, and of course Taker. But as far as the new guys, I have to think about that one a little bit. I'll get back with you on that.
Bray would be a fun match, though.
As a Christian and man of faith, how do you think like that impacted your career overall? And I'm also curious as to what you're passionate about outside of wrestling.
Well, how did it, being a Christian, impact my career? It didn't happen until August of 1998. And for me, you know, I had my moment of truth where I stopped giving God lip service and I began to really walk with Him, and I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. He became my Lord and my Savior. I've been outspoken about that, and what it did is it caused me to understand that there's something bigger than wrestling, something that's beyond wrestling, and that there are young kids, you know, boys and girls watching. And, you know, the example that I give, the influence that I give is detrimental. And so, you know, I knew that I had to really watch my every move and the words that came out of my mouth. You know, you never heard of, you know, an F-bomb come out of my mouth or any other bomb come out of my mouth, especially on camera or on the microphone. So I tried to keep it as entertaining, but still as clean as I possibly could. And, you know, that whole thing that we did for Starcade, the whole build up there was done, it was just a storyline that drove it. There wasn't anything else. So I'm glad that I did what I did, and I'm glad it was the best choice I ever made, was giving my life to Jesus. And I have not looked back.
Thank you.
Sting, thanks for being here. First, want to say my favorite match is against Ric Flair, the final episode of Nitro. It just gave me the feels because I just grew up with WCW and WWF. So I have a two-part question, if that's cool. First, I just want to know like what iteration of Sting you're the most proud of. I mean, I grew up with Crow and Wolfpack, but just wanted to see which one that you identify with the most or you're most proud of as a character. And since we're in our nation's capital, I was curious, which politician would you feel comfortable death dropping?
Oh boy. I'm not going to get political.
Good answer.
Yeah. The Crow character, for sure. That's the one that I identify with the most. And when I look back, boy, so many different emotions can come over me just thinking about, you know, everything that I did. I mean, I came to the Lord. Don't worry, I'm not going to keep preaching to you all. That's when I got saved, like, you know, very peak of my career, and I was doing that character. And, you know, and as far as, you know, death droppings, politician, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Thank you, sir. But there are some that I would like to death drop.
Would you consider giving the kid from the Sprite commercial a rematch?
The Sprite commercial, does anyone know that? Yes? Wow. You know, they wouldn't even allow that anymore. Yeah.
But honestly, I know the internet can be pretty harsh. So for like everything that you guys do, I've watched my trainer wrestle with a broken neck, and sometimes people just, that's not enough for them, so thank you for spending as much time as you have, and just abroad, you know, for doing, you know, do what you. I didn't come up here, I didn't plan anything. So.
You're good. I appreciate that because we did put our bodies on the line. And sometimes, especially in the first decade, you know, it's 300 plus days a year.
So yeah, thank you guys, and
what was the whisper?
We don't deserve you. We're good. You're good.
Yeah, no, that's all right, let's get mushy now, okay? I don't deserve you guys, all right? No, that means a lot, thank you.
All right, over here.
Okay, first off, it is an honor to meet you, the icon himself, Stan. I watched you in WCW, I watched a lot of your matches, and you are an awesome dude. That's all. And I wanted to ask you, if you had to go back to your Joker persona like you did in TNA, would you be willing to face Demon King Finn Balor?
No. In the Joker character?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I would, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Right over here.
Hey, Sage. Huge fan since I was a child. I think my favorite scenes of you were you taking the NWO on by yourself with your back, coming down from the rafters. My question for you is that when you were coming down from the ceiling of the rafters, did you ever have an issue with the line that brought you down?
Oh boy.
And if you feel that's out of line, don't want to answer that question.
Yeah, you know, it is a tough one. There were some moments, two in particular, but the biggest one was in Chicago at the United Center. That was the very first one, and there was almost a catastrophe that nobody knows about. Nobody. There's only a handful of people that know what happened, but it was literally within seconds. And I would have gone down to the ground.
Well, I just want to say, when you were taking them up, when you came down from the Raptors that night, you were fighting them. I had a hard time sleeping that night, so you got my adrenaline pumped. So it's great to be your fan. So
Yeah, my adrenaline was pumping too. And I didn't sleep that night either.
Thank you.
Right over here.
How are you doing, Sting?
Great.
Welcome back to where you beat Hogan in Starrcade '97 for the world title. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yes. I've been a fan of yours. I followed you, of course, from back in the UWF days when you were with Warrior and when you were with Rick Steiner and your first face turn, Battle of New Orleans with Hot Stuff, Chris Adams, Steiner, Shane Douglas. That was hardcore back then. I remember that vividly. And I had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of times in Maryland, especially when you signed my Crockett Cup 88 VHS, and I really appreciated that. And of course, you and Luger were the last Crockett Cup winners until tonight. So my question to you is, have you followed the NWA lately, including the return of the Crockett Cup, which is this evening?
No. I haven't, but I understand they're doing, some of those double cage matches, the war games and all this kind of stuff. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff now. And I hear Rock and Roll Express and some other these, they're bringing some, yeah, they're bringing everybody back to this stuff. The nostalgia that I was talking about, people can't let go of that, and I think WWE knows that, and that's why they're doing it. But no, I have no idea what's going on with the Crockett Cup.
Over here.
We don't let go because of the current product now, because instead of back then, like 97 or so, I've tried watching it a few times recently, it's not been very good. And just a quick shock master fact, it's actually the only figure I've ever seen. There's one of him upside down inside the box from where he fell. You can't do it this way, it's good for your boxes, but it's actually upside down.
I have that.
And just a two-parter for you. You mentioned wanting to work with Shawn Michaels. Have you ever, I know the time frames didn't work out with that. Did you ever have any vision of how that went? Would he be the heel? Would he be the face? Because when he was with Hogan, he didn't really want to be the heel, but he did. They're supposed to have a 3-off. Hogan allegedly said no. Did you ever have any vision of how that would go if you got to work with him?
The whole babyface heel thing never even crossed my mind. I just know that Shawn is one of the few guys that could have a match with anybody and make it work. And I've had a few really, really good matches in my career, and I think that Shawn and I could have really put something incredible together.
Yeah, because for me personally, I would rather see that than you versus Taker, just because Shawn, you and Shawn are favorites. And my last question is, you talked about blowing out your knee. I've just got a few issues here and there. It's hard to just mentally overcome things. And I always want to ask Shawn, how did you come back from your back injury? How do you come back from your knee injury, like with no fear? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
yes, you kind of have to.
Yeah. You don't have a choice. It's either that or die.
Right.
Either that or you're done. And so you have to have a resolve and move forward. You got to, of course, do your physical therapy. You got to do what the doctors are telling you to do, and do it without any halfway stuff going on. I mean, you got to go all out for it.
Right, and I think it's Philippians 4:13 or something like that. Through Christ, all things are possible. And Sean wore that at the 2002 SummerSlam. So maybe that's where it all ties in. But I've never gotten a chance to ask him, or he's always so busy to sign. He's just never get a chance to. Thank you for answering too.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that he would give you that answer. Yes.
Because and again, can't believe it. Thank you for everything that you've done. Like I said, 300+ days to wear on your body. We still appreciate you so much. Just thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one last question. So, Macho Man, you got last.
Mach, dig it. Thank you for the kind words earlier, Steve. Thank you. So, back at the Alamo Dome in '98, do you feel also like you and I were robbed of a clean finish by that hot dog, that prima donna, Hulk Hogan? Yeah, I can dig that, brother.
I don't think there's a better way to end this than that. So, once again, one more round of applause for hope you guys enjoy Austin's con. Thank you guys so much.
Sting, we love you.